glimpse inside the mind of a serial murderer. The BTK killer terrorized Wichita, Kansas for 3 decades, now in a jail.
Today's unfortunate story is about a Dennis Lynn Rader, also known as ETK, an abbreviation he gave himself for bind, torture, and kill. He's an American serial killer who murdered at least 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas, between the years of 1974 and the year of 1991. Although Rader occasionally killed or attempted to kill men and children, he typically targeted women. His victims were often bound, sometimes with objects from their homes, and either suffocated with a plastic bag or manually strangled with a ligature.
BTK seemed uncatchable. Everyone wondered who he was, where he was, until just a few months ago, when a most unlikely man who'd lived among them all along, Dennis Rader, was arrested.
I'm BTK. I'm a guy.
Dennis Lynn Rader was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas on March 9th, year of 1945, to a bookkeeper, Dorothy Mae Rader, and a gas service worker, William Evan Rader. He was the eldest of 4 sons. Rader grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Both parents worked long hours and paid little attention to their children at home. Rader later described feeling ignored by his mother in particular and resenting her for it. From a young age, Rader harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing trapped and helpless women. He also exhibited zoism by torturing, killing, and hanging small animals. Rader acted out sexual fetishes for voyeurism, erotic asphyxiation, and cross-dressing. He often spied on female neighbors while dressing in women's clothing, including women's underwear that he had stolen, and masturbated with ropes of other bindings around his arms and neck. Years later, during his cooling off periods between murders, Rader would take pictures of himself wearing women's clothes and a female mask while bound. He later admitted that he was pretending to be his victims as a part of a sexual fantasy. However, Rader kept his sexual prerogatives well hidden, and he was widely regarded in the community as normal, polite, and well-mannered. After graduating with Wichita High School, Rader attended Kansas Wesleyan University. He received only mediocre grades and dropped out after 1 year. Rader served the United States Air Force from the year of 1966 to the year of 1970. On discharge, he moved to Park City, a suburb of Wichita, where he worked in the meal department of the IGA supermarket, where his mother was a bookkeeper. Rader married Paula Dietz on May 22nd, year of 1971. They had 2 children, Carrie and Brian. He attended Buller County Community College in El Dorado, earning an associate's degree in electronics engineering technology in the year of 1973. He then enrolled at Wichita State University and graduated in the year of 1979 with a Bachelor of Science degree, majoring in administration of justice. In May 1991, Rader became a dog catcher and compliance officer in the park. In this position, neighbors called him as being sometimes overzealous and extremely strict, as well as taking special pleasure in bullying and harassing single women. One neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for no reason. Rader was a member of the Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita and had been elected president of the church council. He was also a Club Scout leader. By the year of the 2000s, the public's memories of the murders had begun to fade. Local author Robert Detail began writing a book about the killings after being shocked that so many people, young people, he spoke to had ever even heard of the case. Hungry for attention, Rader reemerged as the BTK in year 2004 after learning that a book was being written. On July 26, the year of 2005, after Rader's arrest, his wife was granted an emergency divorce, waiving the normal 60-day waiting period. In an interview with ABC News in the year 2019, Rader's daughter Carrie said she still writes to her father and was now forgiving him, but still struggles to reconcile him with the BTK killer, stating her childhood seemed normal and they were such a normal American family. On January 15th, the year of 1974, 4 members of the Olero family were murdered in Wichita, Kansas. The victims were Joseph Otero Sr. and Julia Julie Otero, and Joseph Joy Otero, and Josephine Joseph Otero. Their bodies were discovered by the family's 3 children, who had been at school at the time of the killings. After his 2005 arrest, Rader confessed to killing the Otero family. Rader claimed that he first targeted the family 2 months prior to the murders when he was spotted Julie leaving to take her children to school and followed them. On the morning of January 15th, Rader cut the phone lines and entered the Otero residence when Joy opened the back door for the family dog. Rader told the Otero family that he was a wanted man in California before he ordered them to lie on the living floor at gunpoint. Then he led the family into a bedroom and lied them in the rope prepared around their bodies. Joseph and Joy were on the floor, while Julie and Josie were on the bed. The wrists and feet of Joseph and Julie were restrained. Joseph's head was covered by a plastic bag, which Rader then secured with ropes. But after he chewed a hole in the bag, another bag was lightly tightened over his head again, causing Joseph to slowly suffocate to death. On April 4th, year 1974, Rader broke into the Wichita home of a 21-year-old Kathleen Doreen Bright through her screen door, but was taken aback to discover her 19-year-old brother Kevin Bright was also present in the property. He transported Catherine to another bedroom and tied her down after forcing Kevin, who was also being held at gunpoint, to restrain his sister with the rope Rader had provided. Rader attempted to strangle Catherine to death before stabbing her 3 times in the back and lower abdomen with a knife while she struggled too much. Kevin was also strangled and shot in the head, but survived by foreign death and later escaping. On March 17th, year 1977, 25-year-old Shirley Ruth Belford was found dead in her home in Wichita. Rader was pursuing Redford and located her by following her 5-year-old son to her home. Redford had not been feeling well and had sent that boy out for soup. Rader entered the residence and pulled a handgun out with under his jacket, frightening the family. After tying up the 3 children and locking them in the bathroom, Rader took Relford to the back bedroom. Rader had Shirley restrained while she vomited before tying her legs to her bedpost. He then strangled her with a rope after placing a plastic bag over her head while her children screamed and banged on the hallway door. Similarly to Otero murders, Rader intended to murder Redford's children, although they were ultimately able to escape before he could do so. When Rader noticed 25-year-old Nancy Joy Fox going into her home in Wichita, he marked her as a potential victim and began stalking her. On December 8th, year of 1977, Rader knocked at the door. When nobody answered, he cut the phone lines before breaking in the wall on the Fox in her kitchen. Fox's murder would be described by Rader as what I call a perfect hit. Although she gave him a lot of verbal static, she cooperated. She didn't fight me. I had complete control over her. That's why it was one of the more enjoyable kills, as I call them. Rader killed Fox by strangling her with the belt on her bed. Before she died, Rader told her that she was responsible for the prior Otero murders. The following day, Rader called police from a phone booth telling them they would find Fox's body at her home. On August 23rd, year 2023, the Associated Press reported that Rader was considered the prime suspect to 2 further killings in Oklahoma and Missouri. Authorities discovered possible trophies from victims after launching a search for evidence at his former Kansas home, resulting in the investigation of Rader's potential involvement in additional unsolved disappearances and murders.
I got this fantasy. I started working out this fantasy in my mind. And once that person become a fantasy, I could just loop it over. I just lay in bed at night and think about this person, the events, and how it's going to happen. And it became almost like a picture show. And I wanted to go ahead and produce it, direct it, and go through with it. No matter what the costs were, the consequences, it's going to happen one way or another.
By the year of 2004, the investigation of the BTK killer was considered a cold case. Then Radar inflated a series of 11 communications to the local media. This activity led directly to his arrest in the year of 2005. In March of 2004, the Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone using the name Bill Thomas Kilman. The author of the letter claimed that he had murdered Vicki Welchland on September 16th in the year of 1986 and enclosed photographs of the crime scene and a photocopy of her driver's license, which had been stolen at the time of the crime. Before this, it had not been definitely established that Wegley was killed by BTK. DNA collected from under Wegley's fingernails provided police with previously unknown evidence. They had begun DNA testing hundreds of men in an effort to find the serial killer. Although more than 1,300 DNA samples were taken and later destroyed by court order. In May, the year 2004, I received a letter with chapter headings for the BTK story, fake IDs, and a word puzzle. On June 9th, a package was found taped to a stop sign at the corner of 1st and Kansas Road in Wichita. It had graphic descriptions of the Otero murders and a sketch labeled "The Sexual Thrill Is My Bill." Also enclosed was a chapter list for a proposed book titled The BTK Story, which mimicked a story written in the year of 1999 by Court TV court writer David Lohr. Chapter 1 was titled A Serial Killer is Born. In July, a package dropped into the return slot of a public library that contained more bizarre material, including a claim that he was responsible for the death of a 19-year-old Jake Allen in Argonia, Kansas, earlier that month. This claim was false, and the death was ruled a suicide. After his capture, Rader admitting into his interrogation that he had been planning to kill again, and he had set a date for October year of 2004 and was stalking his intended victim. In October year 2004, a manila envelope was dropped into a UPS box in Wichita. It had many cards with images of terror and bondage of children pasted on them, a poem threatening the life of lead investigator, and a false autobiography with many details about the Rader's life. These details were later released to the public. In December 2004, Wichita police received another package from the BTK killer. This time, the package was found in Wichita Murdoch Park. It had the driver license of Nancy Fox, which was noted as stolen from the crime scene, as well as a doll that was symbolically bound at the hands and feet and had a plastic bag tied over its head. In January year 2005, Rader attempted to leave a cereal box in the bed of a pickup truck at Home Depot in Wichita, but the box was discarded by the truck's owner. It was later retrieved from the trash after Rader asked what had happened of it in a later message. Surveillance tape of the parking lot from that date received a distinct figure driving a black Jeep Cherokee, leaving the box in the pickup. In February, year 2005, more postcards were sent to, and another cereal box left at a rural location was found to contain another bound doll. The police obtained a warrant to test a pap smear taken from Rader's daughter at the Kansas State University Medical Clinic. DNA tests showed a familiar match between the pap smear and the sample from Wiglery's fingernails. This indicated the killer was closely related to Rader's daughter, and that obtained with another evidence was enough for police to arrest Rader.
Stalking stage is when you start learning more about your victims, potential victims. Went to the library, I looked up their names, address, cross-reference, and called them a couple of times, show a lighter whenever I could.
Rader was arrested while driving near his home in Park City shortly after noon on February 25th, year 2005. An officer asked Mr. Rader, "Do you know why you're going downtown?" Rader replied, "Oh, I have suspicions. Why?" Agents searched Rader's home and vehicle, seizing evidence including computer equipment and a pair of black pantyhose retrieved from a shed and a cylindrical container. The church he attended, his office of City Hall, and the main branch of Park City Library was also searched. At a press conference the next morning, Wichita Police Chief Norman Williams announced, "The bottom line, the BTK has been arrested."
Plastic bags, rope, tape, a knife, guns. Almost would be a kid that came for to have in the house and the other body.
Tools that would come to define the work of BTK.
On February 28th, year 2005, Rader was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. Soon after his arrest, the Associated Press cited an anonymous source alleging that Rader had confessed to other murders in addition to those which he had been connected. However, the Sedgwick County District Attorney denied the story, yet refused to say whether Rader had made any confessions or if investigations or investigators were looking into Rader's possible involvement in more unsolved killings. On March 5th, news sources claimed to have verified by multiple sources that Rader had confessed to the 10 murders he was charged with, but no other ones. On March 1st, Rader's bail was set at $10 million, and a public defender was appointed to represent him. On May 3rd, the judge entered not guilty plea on Rader's behalf, as Rader did not speak at his arraignment. However, on June 27th, the secluded or scheduled trial date, Rader changed his plea to guilty. He described the murders in detail and made no apologies. At Rader's August 18th sentencing, victims' families made statements, after which Rader apologized in a rambling 30-minute monologue that the prosecutor likened to an Academy Awards acceptance speech. His statement has been described as an example of an often observed phenomenon among psychopaths: their inability to understand the emotional content of language. He was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences with a minimum of 175 years. Kansas had no death penalty at the time of his murders. On August 19th, he moved to El Dorado Correctional Facility.
On his control, Factor X.
Something that's, I use it, I actually think I'm maybe possessed with demons. I was dropped on my head when I was a kid. talked to some theological Christian people, and some of those people are really strong. They actually think, well, like I said, there's demons within you or can come into you. That's the only thing I can figure out.
Rader talked about innocuous topics such as the weather during the 40-minute drive to El Dorado, but began to cry when the victim's family's statements from the court proceedings came on the radio. He is now in solitary confinement for the protection with 1 hour of exercise per day and showers 3 times per week. This will likely continue indefinitely, beginning in the year of 2006. He was allowed access to television and radio and to magazines and other privileges for good behavior. Following Rader's arrest, police in Wichita, Park City, and several surrounding cities looked into unsolved cases with the cooperation of the state police and the FBI. They particularly focused on cases after 1994, when the death penalty was reinstated in Kansas. Police in surrounding states such as Nebraska, Missouri, and Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas are also investigating cold cases that fit Rader's pattern to some extent. The FBI and local jurisdictions at Rader's formerly owned duty stations checked into unsolved cases during Rader's time in line of service. I hope you enjoy this unfortunate story. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. And once again, we bring it